Like, so the question is, when the guys are outside and they wanna measure something, and they're using their mobile phones, and they are not so accurate every time. Is there any um, GPS device what we can connect with merging to make it more accurate?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, like if they're working on mobile phones, there's a big array of Bluetooth GPS receivers that you can pair with your phone or your tablet to increase the accuracy. Let me find I think there's a page about that I can find here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
So no support GPS devices.
Yeah, so this is the Mergin Maps documentation page, and it's the external GPS page. So this is one list that they maintain for devices that they know work well with mobile devices and mobile phones for Android. Some are good for Android, some are also good for iOS.
Okay.
I can put this in the chat. There's a longer discussion on this page than just this little. I put the link in the chat. So this does go through some. There are, but any Bluetooth GPS receiver would work, as far as I understand. Some are, there's a big range, just like with any GPS device, there's a big range in price and accuracy. Some have better signal lock, some are better. Some use multiple constellations, GLONASS and GPS, and can provide better accuracy that way. So it really depends what you're looking for, but the answer is it's easy to do.
Okay, and oh, how to say that? If I'm gonna connect with this device, the coordinates will gonna go only from that device, or the mobile phone works also with this additional GPS to make it more accurate. How is it work?
So basically, the external GPS would just take over for the GPS on your phone.
Okay.
So it would all your positioning would be more accurate, more precise.
Okay. Are those devices very expensive, or it just because I know that Garmin make also watches and other stuff,
Yeah.
And the Glow too. I first time I heard that.
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's see.
Oh,
So these are in Danish kroners. This is a 90 euros. I think that would be about right now.
like €100?
Yep, a little less than
Okay.
100 euro.
Oh my God, because I look on it at 4,000, but it's Daima.
Oh, that's a different, the Garmin approach. So there will be a big range. But this is a Bluetooth one, the Garmin Glow. So that could probably be a good option. And I think if you go to the Garmin page for this, they, again, sorry, this is in Danish crowns. That is roughly 100 euros. They probably have some. Accuracy, 3 meters. Battery life is another issue, 13 hours.
Something more accurate. 3 meters. That's
Yeah.
it.
Where's it? They don't have information here on which would be most precise. Oh, this is good information though. If you scroll up on this page,
Mhm.
these are screenshots of the Mergin Maps input app on your phone. And so if you, when you were out collecting data, if you saw the little text that popped up telling you how accurate your current position was, might say like 8 meters or something like that. If you press on that, you will bring up the GPS settings, and this is where you can select which GPS receiver you want to be connected to through the input app.
Okay.
By default, it's just your phones, but if your phone is connected via Bluetooth to another GPS receiver, it'll show up and you can connect to that receiver, and so it will take over. So here it's connecting to a Trimble R2. So it's not difficult to hook one up if you have one.
Okay.
What you'd have to do though is just do some research on, think about how accurate you need your positioning to be, and kind of evaluate which units are gonna work for your budget and the accuracy needs that you have, and the operating systems, Android or iOS. So those will be the factors that determine which one you choose.
Okay. Başka czytaj? Wszyscy? Okay.
Bartek, so that's all the questions. Yeah, actually, we don't have more questions.
Okay. Well, let
But-
me answer the questions that you had last week.
Yeah, it will be great. Thanks.
Okay,
Would be very
so
nice.
I asked about reverse geocoding with the developers of Mergin Maps, and they said that it's possible to develop this, but it's not currently a feature in Mergin Maps. So it would require calls to a geocoding REST API. So it's certainly possible, just hasn't been developed. So for now, one workflow you could do instead would be to bring your data into QGIS, and if you had address data already in QGIS, you could do a join by location to, if you had parcels, for example, with the address, or if you had address points, you could do a join by location to get the nearest address point to the point you collected and attach it to it as an attribute.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, so
Or if you have address data that you can put into as a layer like that, and you had it out in the field, you could also query that layer out in the field in input, and just use that, enter that address like you would any, like the name of the tree. You could just enter the address out in the field too, if you had that data available as a layer. Could be another way to do it.
okay. Okay, great. And thanks for the answer. Yeah.
Another thing you had here was renaming photos, and this is one that they've gotten a number of requests from users to have this. So it's something they're thinking about. It's on their checklist of features to add to Mergin Maps, basically. So they were wondering, they wanted me to ask you, like, what would the use case be? And in fact, they offered, if you want, I can email the developer of Mergin Maps and send them your email address, and they could talk directly to you about what your use would be in this. And so when they develop the feature, they could make sure that your use case is taken care of.
No,
Um,
actually, I don't need to contact them. Thank you.
what,
So
can you,
also,
can you repeat that?
I no need any connection to them because
Okay.
I was actually trying to ask something about developing permission system management, like all the thing. I was already connected. I was talking to them, yes, but for now I don't need anything else more. Like I was just like to see how it's developing measurements.
Okay.
Yes, for now.
Can you speak closer to the microphone? You're kind of fading in and out as you speak.
Sorry. For now, it's everything. What is in Mergy Maps, every features is for me enough. For
Okay.
now.
And so
So,
that they were thinking though that if you wanted to have photos renamed, it could be a constant, or it could be there's variables like the merge in project name could be used, or it could be an attribute value of something. So these are things that would be very doable for them to develop. And so just it's the Lutra Consulting is just a very nice company, and so they really try to make this something that works for all the people who are using it. So when there's enough people asking for something like this, then it's likely that they will develop it as soon as they can. So yeah, they were interested to know that someone else was interested in this feature. So and you had another question about extending the maximum storage.
oh, right. Yes, I forget about that.
And this one, I would just email info@lutraconsulting.co.uk. That's their just general contact
Przyjemność.
email, and just ask them, because they would increase it for you, and you could discuss how much that would cost. These are their pricing schemes, and the professional is 10 gigabytes. But you can see, I mean, they can add more. This team subscription is 50 gigabytes. So they can increase this. They would just charge you some amount more. So you would just have to work with them to see what it would cost to increase your storage.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for.
And the other thing
Nice.
I will mention is that Mergin, they have open sourced Mergin maps. So you can download Mergin maps and install it on your own server. And in that way, you could have as much space as you have on your server. So you can set up your own Mergin map server if you want. That's always an
So
option.
it means if I have, let's say, 1000 terabytes in my own server, so it should work like online, everything.
Yep,
Like,
exactly.
nice. That's good to know, because maybe in future our company will work with photos. So maybe a lot of teams will adding photos.
Yes.
Just so yes, it actually will be super helpful. This one.
Okay. And then there was one feature I didn't really get to show you. And so this is this changes viewer. And so how you get to this is, let me back up. I have this kind of as a little animation. So before I get to that slide, if you have made local changes within QGIS to your data, you can review those via this changes viewer. So you right click on the survey layer to get to this. It's going to show up in the context menu. So if I right click on survey layer in QGIS, and there's that show local changes, which is part of Mergin Maps, and it brings up this changes viewer, and it'll show you which features you have edited. So these, I edited the positioning of those. So the geometry is highlighted in yellow in the table. And this point I deleted. It's the one I took during our demo last week. And so it shows up as pink. If I had added one, it would show up as green. So that's just a simple changes previewer in QGIS that's part of Mergin Maps that you could use.
So if someone if someone just changed the line, like after adding like 20 minutes later, we can see the changes.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, because that's what I wanted to ask also. And there's a date also. Wait, data.
Yeah, well,
With the
that
time of
there's the
yeah.
other way to do that is just by going online to your Mergent Maps account to that project, and you get the history of the project with all the different versions of the project, and for each one of those, you can see what the changes were.
Próbowałem to, tylko że mi to nie działa, nie wiem czemu, ale może działa.
So, for example,
Trzeba zablokować obiekt tak, żeby nie mogli usunąć, można?
so if I'm in my Mergent Maps account here, and I click on my project for October course demo, there's this history section here.
Okay.
So I click on history, it shows me all the versions of my project. So I've been going out, throughout last week and today, tinkering with it. So I have 8 versions of my 9 versions. So I can click on one of these and I can see at version 6, the project size, when it was created, and then what was done. There was one feature that was modified here. You can see one was modified, nothing was removed, nothing was added. So this was an edit to something. This one feature was deleted. That's what that indicates. So you can use this history in Mergent Maps to see what happened at each change in the project. And there's a summary table too. This shows you that a feature was added here or edited. The green would be a feature added. Red would be a feature deleted. Yellow would be a feature modified. So you get all of that information. And for any of these versions, you can download the project at that version.
Okay. For example, the profiles, the accounts for the people with special permissions, like
Oh yeah. So if you have a
talk about-
number of people and you
Yeah.
go to settings, then yeah, you might have collaborators. So Jakob, I might have you as a collaborator on this project, and I add you here. But then I could give you permissions down here. I could decide what you had permission to change in the project. Basically, if you could just read or write or those sorts of things. And so if you then made a change to the project, your username instead of mine would show up under here as author for which versions that you changed. So you'd be able to see who's making changes to the project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. For example, can we block some objects, like no one can delay that?
Yeah, you can. So let's see. So I'm the owner. Let's see. What's your username in Mergent Maps?
Mitsu? Oh my God, month. What is it? So I got.
Let me see.
Well, I will write it. Moment. What is it?
Oh, here I've got a colleague of mine. Here's just to show you. Here's my colleague
Okay.
Hans van der Kwast. So I can add him to this project, and now here he is. And right now I'm the owner, and he's a reader of the project. But I can also make him a writer, meaning he can make edits. So I can change it's not detailed permissions, but I can make some permissions there. If I make him, now he's a writer of the project. So meaning he can make changes. I don't know if you can, I think what you would do if you wanted to, let's say have one layer that was not editable. I think what you do is you go in here and you go into project properties in QGIS. And you make that layer read only, so like the study area is read only, so it can't be edited in the input app.
Yeah, because if someone new don't know how to use the app correctly, he
Mhm.
can move our lines or even delete it.
Yeah, that's true. They especially, well, it's, yeah, in the very latest version of the app that's coming out soon, that you're going to be able to do edits to geometries in the field. So that is true. Yeah, I will ask, I'll email you a more detailed explanation of if it's possible to put finer permissions on things. But this, we kind of got that from this changes viewer. So this is one way to review changes, and the other way is online from your Mergin Maps account. There's also some tools. So if you open the processing toolbox in QGIS, when you have Mergin Maps installed, there's a couple different tools in here. So these are basically tools to create kind of different reports on changes to the project. So this one, create diff, extracts changes between two versions of a project. So you might be interested in what happened between versions 40 and 42 of a project. So you could go in with this tool, give the Mergin project directory, the layer, and tell it which version you want to start with and which you want to end with, like between version 40 and 42, for example. And it would create a layer of the changes just between those two versions to that layer. So it's just a kind of a management tool. The create report will create a report for all the data, kind of exports it out to a CSV file. And then which is, so it's kind of similar to what you see online with the history in Mergin Maps. And then extract local changes. This would be local changes to that you've made in QGIS, extract to a new layer. So the create report tool, for example, is going to, when I ran it earlier this morning, it outputs this. So it tells me these are all the versions of my project, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it tells me what the operation was, if I added something, edited something, deleted something, what time it was, who did it, and the number of features affected. So you can see all of that history by running this report tool in QGIS. This is very similar to the history that you'd get online, just another place to get it. They also have a blog at Lutra Consulting where they publish updates when there's like a new version of the plugin or a new feature that they've introduced. So if, for example, if they implement the ability to change JPEG names for the pictures you take, that would probably be a blog that they would write. So the blog is a place you can just go to keep track of things. They also have a Twitter feed for Mergin Maps. And this was just from a couple weeks ago where and this is what I was just mentioning, if you have a polygon or line feature, you can now make changes to that geometry in the input app. So you can edit the vertices of polygons and lines in the input app. I don't think this is quite out yet. It says we are due to release a major update And I'm not sure if this is in the current version we have installed today or not yet. I haven't played with this feature, but so Twitter is another way that I keep track of new changes, because they do introduce new features fairly regularly. They're doing a lot of work on this and always improving it. This is from their LinkedIn feed. I don't know if you ever need to scan QR codes, but now this has been available for a while actually, but they just had this post about it. If you have a field name in your survey layer that has QR code in the name, the scanner will automatically show up in the app, and you can scan a QR code and capture that information from the QR code, the URL or whatever it is. So if you're ever surveying things out in the field that have QR codes on signs or something, that's a nice feature. Oh, so this is a really important one. So Mergin Maps has a Slack channel now, and I don't know if you've used Slack. I'm sure you probably have.
Yes.
So you can just join this community Mergin Slack channel and just ask questions, and it'll be the developers answering. So, for example, if you wanted to know about, this would be another place you could ask about increasing your license beyond 10 gigabytes or something like that. So you can go on here and ask questions or see what other people are asking. And they're usually pretty responsive. They answer within a couple hours, almost always. There's also a couple podcasts about this. I did a podcast episode. This is getting a little old now, 2 years ago. There's a podcast called Mapscaping, which I think is like one of the best geospatial podcasts. So Mapscaping comes out with 2 episodes a week. So this was an episode about kind of comparing QField and Input, as it was called at the time. And just in August, just a couple months ago, there was an episode with the developers of Mergin Maps talking about it. So that's another good podcast episode to listen to if you're into podcasts. Oh yeah, you will certainly get certificates with the course. I'll send those out probably all at once I've gotten everyone's assignment. And yeah, I think that's all I had for answer to the questions that you had written in for.
Okay. So I want to ask about the addresses in the table, because sometimes the guys outside got a problem with the address, because they're a Polish guy and it's Germany, and the grammar is very hard, and they make a lot of mistakes, and not always I can catch that. And sometimes they are on the skrzyżowanie, like 2 roads crossing in one time, you know?
Yeah, intersection, yeah.
And and they don't know which street it is.
Right.
And I wanted to know if there is a possibility, if they will just mark those 2 points to see the address on the input and output, the exact address of the street, because sometimes they got problem also when the 2 villages are very close, and they don't know which is correct.
Right. So you're asking if they could take 2 points?
I mean, to see the address on the input and output based on Google Maps or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure, and so I mean they could you can add as many as much data as you need to. So you could have address 1, address 2, or, you know, so if there was, they could use address 2 if it was the second address they weren't sure of. So you could say it's either this, or it's either in this town, or it's in this town, and I don't know which. So they could have a second address column to fill in if they weren't sure which one was correct.
Or even just on input. It's like they starting, and when they filling up the all information about it, there's information on the end, and they just rewriting this on paper, and that's all. Because they always have to save and then copy the coordinates, then paste to Google Maps. And when they don't have much time, it's annoying sometimes.
Okay.
Also, the Google Maps is not so fast because they are not always, they don't always got any good internet connection. So it's
Right.
taking a time.
But that's where they could use the offline base map.
Okay.
Remember how
And the question is also if they got this map, because we got some teams, they are moving sometimes to other places. And the question is if what will happen if we're gonna download the whole map of Germany? We need like 10 gigs of memory, 20. If we're gonna use only a Google Maps, because there's also a
well, I guess I would think I would break it up into regions so that you're only working on one region or municipality at a time to reduce the size of all that.
Yeah, but also not every time they got good connection, good internet connection in hotels.
Yeah,
Because it's Germany, and for them 50 megabytes is very high speed.
Yeah.
So
but that's so, you know, when I showed you how to use create MB tile files of base maps for off if your internet connection isn't very good. Remember we went through that where you use that MB tiles tool to create a raster tiles version of that base map at a couple different zoom levels, and you set up the map theme. So if you don't have good internet connection, they can just use the map theme that is offline so that they don't have to worry about that. I think that would be a good use case to use the MB tiles offline base maps. And another thing is, I don't know how good OpenStreetMap is in Germany, but OpenStreetMap tends to have good addresses. And so if you might evaluate whether OpenStreetMap is better than Google Maps in some areas. I don't know.
Okay.
Have you looked at OpenStreetMap?
Yeah, the OpenStreetMap maps are better, even better, because you can see directly the number of houses, for example.
Right. So it might be better to that would be a good use case for base maps, because you could have, you know, setting up different map themes. You could have one for OpenStreetMap, one for Google Maps, and they could quickly switch between them to see which one was giving the best information. And you do that in input. You just go down and click that more button and switch between the base maps. Doesn't take any time really. And you, I know you did that, right? You did you turned in your assignment, and I saw that you had done that. So,
Yes, I did it. I don't think.
Oh, okay. So that would be what I would suggest experimenting with, and seeing if you could set up something that would give them some flexibility. And I wouldn't try to do all of Germany on one map. I would break it up into municipalities or regions.
regiony. Like 50 kilometers. Okay. So, what do we have more?
Yeah, I think both of us. We are done with questions. It's enough for them. For us, it's very enough for us. So you ask maybe two more questions. Thank you for the answers. Thank you for your answers
Okay,
and yeah, I think we can finish a
okay,
little
Well,
bit faster.
good, good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Okay, see you. Yeah,
Bye.
See you later. Ciao.